Hi, welcome back to Structured Product Management Thinking. The channel is dedicated to helping product managers of all experience levels enhance their skills and advance their careers. My name is Kurt Van Etten, and in this module we're going to talk about doing company analysis, taking a hard look at your own organization. If you haven't watched the previous module on competitive analysis, I encourage you to pause this video and do that now, as we will be using some of the same tools and methods for company analysis as we do for competitive analysis. And this really brings us to the first anti-pattern in the process. So as you're breaking out your SWOT analysis template for your own organization, I found it very common that someone in the organization will call a meeting, bring a team together, and they'll start filling out the SWOT template matrix and expressing their own opinions on what their company's strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what are their opportunities, and what are the threats. And I personally feel this is a mistake. I feel the best practice is you should start doing your company analysis with the exact same way you do competitive analysis. Meaning you should be going out and looking at your company the way the market sees your company and not the way the internal employees see the company. So you should be using all the tools that we talked about in the last module. So you should be going out and looking at those websites that have the user reviews, that have the product views. You should be talking to your industry analysts and see how your company is viewed and compared, and reading those analyst reports and really taking an outside-in view to your company analysis. Once you take that approach, the good news is you do have a big advantage. When it comes to actually understanding the company's strategy, their objectives, and what metrics they're going after or key results, it's much easier to do that since you're internal to the company. In the last module, we talked about trying to reverse engineer positioning statements from other organizations. Here, you should have the answer internal to your organization. So you really want to be very clear and lucid amongst your team in understanding what your company strategy is, what your company objectives are, and what are those key results. And I often find that people in finance are very good people to talk to, right? The CFO organization knows how the money is supposed to be spent, what things are being allocated to. Company strategy in these days is most often articulated in the use of OKRs, or objectives and key results. So what are OKRs? Well, the O is the objective. This is a way for the business to state its aspirational goals that they're trying to achieve over a time frame. It may be multiple quarters, it may be multiple years. The key results are the actual things that we're going to measure that we help move us towards achieving those objectives. So these are the metrics that everyone's going to be closely looking at and reporting on throughout the period. And then finally, you need to have initiatives. These are the actual work that you're going to undertake so you can move the needle in those key results to achieve your objectives. So let's take an example, company level OKRs. Here's our first one. Say we're in a large company, we serve many verticals, we serve manufacturing, we serve finance, and the company's decided that we want to make a bet in moving into the healthcare vertical. So you may have an OKR that looks like this. We want to achieve record-breaking revenue growth in the healthcare vertical. Okay, notice no metrics associated with this. This is just an aspirational thing that we want to win in the healthcare vertical. So how are we going to measure this? The key results: we have an increased annual revenue of healthcare, the vertical, by 20% by Q4. We want to acquire 50 new enterprise healthcare customers by Q4. And we want to expand our healthcare offering into 2 international markets by Q3. Your company might have a second objective, which is we really want to enhance our customer satisfaction and retention. So how will we measure that? Well, we're going to improve our Net Promoter Score from the current 65 to 75 by the end of Q4. And we'll talk about Net Promoter Score in just a few minutes. Next, increase our customer retention rate by 90% by Q3. And we want to reduce our average customer sports time by 25% by the end of Q2. And then you may have specific product level objectives as well. We just want to build a world-class product experience. We're going to launch 3 major features this year. We want to achieve a 90% user adoption rate. 3 3 months after each of these features go GA. And we want to reduce our customer found defects by 30% by Q3. So it is really important in your company analysis that you understand the company strategy. If you have OKRs, you definitely want to get a copy of those and understand how they cascade down through the organization. If you don't, you really want to work your way up your management chain, your objective change, talk to someone in finance, and to the point where you're satisfied that you have a good answer of what is our company strategy and our company objectives and how we're going to measure those. Another experience that I've had in my career is anytime we've done a company analysis, it's inevitable that someone is going to bring up Net Promoter Score. What's our Net Promoter Score, and how do we compare to our competitors using Net Promoter Score? So if you're not familiar with Net Promoter Score, it is a survey. It's a very simple question. It's a single question. It says, how are you likely to recommend this company, brand, or product to someone else, with a friend, colleague, or relative, and answer this question on a scale from 1 to 10. And the answers are broken up into 3 cohorts. If someone answers a 9 or 10, they're considered a promoter. If they answer 7 and 8, they're considered passives. And if their answer from 0 to 6, they're considered detractors. And the Net Promoter Score is calculated by the percent of people that answered 9 or 10 minus the percent of people that answered from 0 to 6. And the score is given on a range from -100 to +100. So just to give you a feel of some Net Promoter Scores, here's some of the top scores in 2024. You can see Tesla at the top has a great NPS score of 96. And then you can see some of the other NPS scores listed here as well. So what is important to understand about NPS scores is you shouldn't be benchmarking things that are outside your industry. Hopefully you've decided what your category is, where you're competing at, and you want to benchmark against competitors in that particular vertical. So for example, in general, insurance companies are going to have a much lower NPS scores than, say, companies that serve coffee because of the complexity of the business and other factors of having to deny claims and all the things that are associated with that particular industry. So you shouldn't be trying to compare yourselves to anyone outside of your vertical, and that's really important to understand. So why do I bring up NPS in the context of doing company analysis? Well, the reason is I've had the experience of management and people within the organization associating Net Promoter Score primarily with the product. We've actually worked in an organization where each business unit was given an NPS score, and they were told to go out and survey their NPS every quarter. So this chart is actually a good representation of what occurred over a little more than the next year doing these quarterly Net Promoter Score surveys. So we started off saying, hey, we have an NPS score of 14. Everybody, let's put our heads together. Product team, go build a bunch of features in Q1. Let's make sure we get those out, and let's survey again at the end of Q2. And lo and behold, we had a big jump in NPS score, and we were the heroes. Everyone was slapping us on the back, where product managers are being carried around the parking lot on people's shoulders about what an amazing job the team did to see such a big jump in Net Promoter Score. So we continued to do what we were doing, and we did the survey again the next quarter, and lo and behold, we saw a huge drop in NPS, and immediately a lot of scrutiny came down. We're getting a lot of questions at the vice presidential and the senior vice presidential level, like, what did you guys do? You must have really upset some customers, because we definitely have more detractors this quarter than we did last quarter. So we went at it again, and then the next quarter we had a big jump in NPS score, and the cycle repeated itself, and we had a big drop again the next quarter in Q1 of the next year. And at this point, we decided we really don't understand what's going on here, and let's figure out what's going on with the NPS score and the NPS survey. So we found out a couple things. One was marketing had decided it was too much to survey people 4 times a year. So they created 2 different cohorts, and one cohort would answer on Q1 and Q3, and the other cohort would answer Q2 and Q4. So immediately we made the hypothesis like just one group likes us better than the others. The ones that answer in Q1 and Q3 just had the same distractors, and they were probably going to continue to be detractors for quite some time. And there were probably some more promoters in the group that answered on Q2 and Q4. The second thing that we did is we really started digging into the comments from both the detractors and the promoters, and we found out that they really weren't answering the question. We answered a very specific question for our product, which was enterprise software, business-to-business software, and we had all kinds of comments about other products in the portfolio, and a lot of them were actually in the B2C business where we were selling stuff to consumers. Some of them were quite humorous, or someone was saying, hey, your antivirus software locked up my daughter's computer before an exam. And so he was always going to be a detractor for the entire company. And I got to believe that's actually probably common. If you're a company with a large portfolio and you send an MPS out, say your Ford Motor Company asking about a Ford Bronco, and probably going to get comments around the Mustang and other types of cars as well. So there was a lot of lessons learned here. Probably it would have been better to do one cohort and answer twice a year for sure. And we'd have been consistent. And if you didn't want to do that, at least you probably could have done some kind of weighted average to do it. So I just bring up this point is you need to be very careful with Net Promoter Score. And it's not driven just from the product team, but it's driven by many other factors that may be in and out of the product manager's control. It's important that everyone understands that NPS score is not solely driven by the product, even if you ask a product-specific question. And here's a list of things that do drive NPS, and certainly the product and the service quality is important to NPS score. There's no doubt about that. But customer support, ease of use, your actual brand reputation, your customer journey, all these things are really, really common and main drivers of NPS score. And so when you're looking at an NPS score and how you want to move it, probably the first thing you should do is break out a customer journey map and understand all the touch points that you have with a customer. So this is a simplified version of a customer journey map. And the idea of the customer journey is that you map out all the touch points that you have with a customer, starting with just awareness, like how do they become aware of your product or service? What do they do when they're making a buying consideration? What happens when they actually acquire your product? And what happens during the course of the use of that product? How is that product serviced? And then how do you build loyalty of doing that? So the good news is, if you're in a larger organization, there's almost certainly customer journey maps already with the marketing department. I would also ask the user experience teams. They also probably have customer journey maps and have done research around this to understand all the touch points that you have with your customers. And so as you look at these touch points, you can have a great product, but maybe your customer support is lacking, right? Maybe you're not doing anything post-sale to build loyalty or ensuring that they're achieving the outcomes set with that product. So when we take a look at their company analysis, some of the best practices, number one, like take that outside in view. Really treat your own company analysis just like you would a competitor. Look at some of the same sources and don't rely on your internal experts to tell you what you're strong at and what you're weak at. Get a very solid understanding of your company strategy. If you don't have OKRs in place, then you need to work your way up your management chain, up the executive chain, and ask repeatedly, hey, what is the company strategy? Where are we making our bets? And this is going to influence your product strategy. So you really need to understand this. And again, evaluate the company broadly. Just like we did with competitive analysis, we can use the marketing mix as a checklist. We should use the company journey as a checklist and make sure that we're just not narrowly focusing on products and features. The anti-patterns is just looking inside out. I've got many stories to tell of engineers that will tell you how great the product is, why our product's better than all competitors, and you ask them, well, why aren't we doing better? They really don't understand that. And the answer probably is somewhere else in that company journey. And next, don't look at NPS primarily as a product key performance indicator. It's really a reflection of all the experiences that you have with your company, and therefore that should be treated as such. Okay, so that wraps up the first third of the structured product management thinking framework, which is the ecosystem analysis. At this point, we have a good understanding of the industry. We've taken a look at our customers. We've segmented our customers. We've looked at our competitors. We've decided what categories are we competing in. Hopefully we've done that through the mindset of a job to be done framework. And we've taken a good hard look and outside in view of our own company and understand where we sit versus the competitors. So now in the next module, we're going to move into the problem space and take our analysis down a little bit more granularly and deeply engage with our customers to understand what the customer problems are, list those problems, and then go through a process to prioritize them. So as always, please like and subscribe, leave your comments below. All feedback is a gift, and look forward to seeing you in the next module. Thank you.